Hey everyone, it's Sean here, Crypto Compassion. Hey, he knows no introductory. His name is Crypto HeartBeat. We're gonna bring him on up right now. We also got HEXy Quinn, David Lee, and Robert coming in, and we're gonna be talking about TEXCON, freedom, all that kind of good stuff. Here we go.
What is up?
Yes,
John Boy Crypto.
yes.
Quinn.
Hi guys.
David Lee.
Hello.
Hey, good to
So
see everyone.
Matt,
So
just
good to see
John.
What's
Hey,
up?
David, we thank you so much for driving down to Texas and just putting in the work. We've heard some great stories about you just manning the booth and doing your service to Texas and TexCon and everything, and we love it, man. Thank you.
Well, you had to see his.
Quit
He
it.
hugged everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why I got sick, huh?
Could be. We tried, and
Yeah.
it was. You talking about labor of love? It was.
Yeah.
It was just great to be able to help so many people in such a short amount of time, and to see the excitement.
Yeah.
Like you get at a lot of meetup things, but when people are learning new things and meeting new people, and in such an environment, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Hey, John, will you put up DJ Pollywood Win in the chat? Will you put him up?
I will. Yeah.
I have to shout him out. So we did the weekend prior to TEXITCON. I did the thing with the Pulse Tour, the Million Pulse Tour, Wild SJ, RG3. I mean, just an amazing group of people. But DJ Pollywood's been traveling all around the country for the Million Pulse Tour, and he came with the van to TEXITCON, and I thought he was just going to stop in and say hello. He stuck around and wore his cowboy hat, wore his Western shirt that had rocket ships to the moon. And I hadn't spent much time with him, and it was awesome. So DJ Pollywood, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for your support. It was so great to have you there.
DJ and I, we've spent some good amount of time, whether it be in Austin or Seattle or Portland, and he's a great guy.
Amazing.
We thank you for his service. I can't imagine driving, I think it was like 17 or 18,000 miles. I mean, just commitment to the pull strain, TEXAN, everything, movement. So thank you, DJ.
Robert.
How's it going?
Yeah, there he is.
Any better now?
Way.
Yeah. Well, you're here. We hear you. We hear you, brother.
It does seem better. You're not all crunchy.
Okay.
So was there a bigger turnout than you thought, Matt? Because I know it sounded like there was a lot of people there, or more than expected.
Yeah. Well, you and I, and our whole team kind of knew the insider baseball, what was going on prior. And of course, since COVID, everything that's been happening with in-person events is a challenge. I mean, it just is. And, we were in meetings prior to it, and, they were concerned, but just like typical Texicans and Hexicans, their late arrival, it was awesome. So there were 34 speakers, which is incredible in and of itself. There was all the volunteers from the TNM, and then, probably 300 people there, which I thought was fantastic. You never felt like it was empty, right? So it was the perfect size rooms and all of that. And honestly, the thing to me, so it went great. But I think for me, it was the types of people that I got to meet. We met people, international folks. We got a new community that we're going to tokenize. Met people from across the pond. I met an investor from Silicon Valley. A guy just it was amazing who was there. And I think that, you wouldn't expect that. And I didn't really expect it, but it was really good for the movement. And I think the highlight politically was the fact that they raised the money necessary at the conference to get all of the signatures needed for the referendum on the ballot of the Republican primary. And so that deadline is December 1st. And that means that if they have the money to do it, if the third party group can get the signatures in, that means we're going to have the referendum on the ballot and that was driving a lot of excitement about the TEXAN token, because people were saying, can you imagine if we got this on the ballot, what that's going to do for TEXAN? And I'm like, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. So yes,
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, we talked to Sam Kemp a little bit last night, and he was super excited. He didn't want to jinx anything, but it sounds pretty promising. So
yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, you figure these guys have been working, Daniel Miller's been working since 1996. That's kind of the calling for him, was 1996. Wow,
Yeah.
that was strange.
Yeah.
And then, they've been an organization since 2005. And so they're no strangers to disappointment. So this was pretty exciting for them.
Yeah. What would you say was the highlight of TEXITCON for you?
Well, for me, it's probably different for different people, for me to run into people. So Dr. Stephen Turley was there, and he was obviously a headliner. We had a sitting senator from the state house or state, government, but Stephen Turley's got 1.2 million followers. And so there were people that came just to TEXITCON just to meet him.
Yeah.
And so the exposure, we gave away 1 million TEXAN tokens, and actually we're still in that process right now, to anyone who came. So even the people that didn't know Rigby, like at the end of it, we're just like, if you want a whole TEXAN, we're going to give it to you. And people came out of the woodwork. And I think that, DJ Pauly Wood said this. He's just like, man, this is like the most engagement I've ever seen. And I really felt like for the first time, and this is going to sound strange, I felt for the first time that the TNM really embraced us, really embraced TEXAN. And they're like, okay, this is real. I understand it now. And a lot of that goes to Brandon and to David Lee, who are just working hard, helping people understand it. We had a bunch of sessions. I mean, we went into depth, and there are people, boy, that don't know which end is up, right? But I will say this, and this is something you need to keep in mind. Let's never forget that we are the only, in my opinion, and debate me, we're the only project on the Pulse chain that is connected to a complete no corner community that's directly associated with them, and real people actually interested in joining into crypto. And so when it comes to, we're not recycling money here, folks. Like this is fresh and new. And boy, I'll tell you what, they are new. They are the noobs. But that's a good thing, right? So we're onboarding into the Pulse chain, and that, I can say with confidence that they've never been in crypto, believe me.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I love that. I could have helped Dave answer questions. I can answer those questions, those noob questions, easy.
Yeah. Anyone could have handled 95% of them on our, or more. There was, a couple weird things, but when you talk about John, what I took away from it was a lot of what you'd expect. It was the people that you got to meet. And my setting was a little bit different, because either I was at the booth or they were closing it down and pushing everyone over into the speakers thing. But even then, you got a chance to mingle with people outside. And there was, we even had, Texans show up, DJ Pollywood, and that was awesome. Ron Raffoon, Mr. Rat Food, just jumped in and was a big help. And it was, it's one of those things that everyone that's been in this for a couple of years can understand. When all you got to do is say, it was about the people. Yeah. And they relate to us on so many ways because they realize what's going on, and they're also people with passion and know their purpose. So it's a great synergistic wedding that was kind of going on.
And for those who are in the chat that didn't go to TEXITCON, let me give you kind of a lay of the land. On the Thursday evening, Brandon from Rags to Riches, the gentle ginger giant genius, he literally showed up in Waco, Texas. And there was like this sucking sound. I think everyone across the entire region could hear. And they came from far, they came from wide, they came literally from places like Fort Worth, Texas and Dallas, Texas to come in and to witness the beauty of the ginger. And so the first event was this amazing. I mean, we had done an event at this Bear Arms Brewing previously, and there was really not many people there. And this time, standing room only. We had Tex-Hex who came in from Fort Worth. We had people coming in from quite a distance. That was awesome. John Balgiano was there. It was so cool. And then we got to meet the international folks. So that was kind of the first thing, which was a social deal that evening. But then the next 3 days were just jam-packed. I mean, 34 different speakers. And I think we did 6 sessions. Brandon did, I think, 3 of those. I did 3 of those. And it was really cool. And Brandon really it was really cool. Seeing him, he worked the booth, he worked the crowd. You know what I mean? He was a man of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those different sessions and everything, we were packed. Like, what's funny is there was a big room where, everyone could fit into. And when we were doing sessions on Texan, like our room was packed. And so, I mean, we literally at least had half the people in our room. So we're very, very popular. And I think there's John, you mentioned this in the green room.
Yeah.
No sense that we're coming into a new season. This is transitional. Right. We're coming up on the halvening. We're coming up on the new year. I think people are so worn out from the bear market. They sense that something's going on, but also politically, things are, getting crazy in the world. And they're like, okay, things are heating up. And I always have felt this way. This isn't the will of man. We can't just force it and put it in a headlock and say, we're going to get Texas independence. It's more of, we're going to be the interface for freedom and sovereignty for people when they need an option, when they need an alternative. Yeah. And that's how I felt about it.
I'm real excited about what, the Pulse Chain community is putting together here. We got the petition going through. We have all kinds of signatures. We have Richard talking about freedom of speech and all those kind of things. And I feel like everything's just kind of coming to a head. I know we all feel the squeeze coming here with the Bitcoin halvening. You've got ETFs. We got all kinds of great things coming in as far as liquidity. And it's a good thing. We've always talked about being agents of change and right time, right place, and the right people. And I'm really excited about this group of people and what we're doing. So let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. We're seeing the ecosystem finally start to take shape, and all these different protocols and tools that are going to help and benefit all of us. And every single time one of them releases or gets close to launch, the charts just go crazy. People get excited. So Pulse Chain is, you got to have the layer 1, but you got to have everybody, working together in synergy. And here pretty soon we'll see liquid loans coming online. So things are just going to keep getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah.
I can't reveal this, but a little bird told me, and actually I think he was a little pirate. He was a wee little pirate.
An Austin pirate. A
wee little Austin pirate. He told me something that's coming, folks. It's going to be really good news. So there's a lot coming. And that's a cool thing when you got so many people working so hard and building. What I'm pulling for is like, I think Richard Hart's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat. I mean, he's going to, with this whole deal. And, we learned that he hasn't been served, which I think is huge. So he's on the run. It's awesome. It's so awesome. And then all this DeFi stuff we're seeing, with all of the things with the Hex front end and Pulse Chain, seeing this IPFS stuff, this is, in my opinion, a really cool thing. We're leading in the area of true DeFi.
Yep.
And, this is the way it's going to go. I mean, we're going to be, the pressure is going to heat up so much that people are going to have to learn these things. They're going to have to learn how to utilize these things. And I think it's great for us. I really do. This whole message of True DeFi is going to be exclusively in the Pulse chain.
Yep. Most definitely. So, David, what else could you take away from the TEXCON, and what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm already looking forward to the next one.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
I was going to ask. I assume it's going to be an annual thing.
Every 3 months. Every 3 months from here on out, right?
Quarterly, then. Okay.
Yeah.
We, Texan, we do have some dates coming up. We got an anniversary coming up, January 6th.
Yep.
Yeah. And
and that's the Hex conference is going to be going. The online Hex conference will be January 6th through 9. I know Brandon's planning something special for Texas as well. He has. I'll let him announce that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. But if he comes into the state of Texas, people know it, and so we need to be ready for that.
Yeah, he was giving us kind of some previews, but yeah, I think what was it? February and March? Jeff?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I feel really left out of the loop right now, you guys. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't really either. He just asked me if the dates, if he came into town, would I be available? So I think we're overhyping something that none of us know anything about.
Yeah, he talked about it last night, but he also mentioned being a redheaded stepchild, and I was thinking of jokes.
Yeah, okay.
I kind of lost track of the dates and what he was saying.
Now I remember.
There you go. Yeah, it was we had a good AMA in the Telegram chat last night, in the Texan chat. We had a pretty good turnout, and it was really good until for the first hour or so. In the last hour, it kind of degenerated into silliness, but it was good seeing, it was good having the chat open in the Telegram and seeing some new faces and stuff.
Without giving too much away, how are you feeling about Freedom Swap?
Freedom Swap.
Actually,
it's funny. We're having a team meeting Monday morning, and so Ryan Hungate is the lead on that project. And so let me tell you some cool stuff about it. I don't know timelines because I've heard that software is hard. But I will say this. So when we took a look at Uniswap v3, and I mean, Ray and Ryan these guys are over 50 apiece. I mean, they've been doing it all their lives, and they're real full stack developers. This isn't like, hey, I like Solidity and I use ChatGPT. It's not that at all. Like, these guys are, working for, Ryan works for Fortune 500 companies. I mean, he's a top guy, and he literally looked at that code. And this is, Uniswap v2 then became Uniswap v3. There's so much gatekeeping that's built into that, and there's so much kind of added on. And so when you dig into what actually happens in that, in the router and in v3 itself, we basically decided to rebuild it. And so to say that it's a fork of v3 is actually not the case. It's going to actually be built very, very streamlined from a code perspective. UI will probably be very similar, but this isn't hey, let's fork Pancake Swap. And that's not it. Like, this is a full rebuild. But that's really good for us. It's going to be, it'll be real streamlined and real lean. But yeah, he's made a lot of progress. And, at this point in time, honestly, our focus, and most people don't know this, our real focus is on liquidity, because think about this, having a brand and having, the ability to swap is one thing. Having liquidity is a whole other thing. That's what it's really about, right? Pairs. Because what is it? That's really what it's about. So we're not doing Freedom Swap so we can make a bunch of money. We're doing it because, we want to bring liquidity into DeFi.
Right.
And so what we're working on that side is huge. But I think the bigger news, honestly, is what's happening with a new community in England. And that to me is, I'm jumping onto my shoes, excited about that, of what it means for Texan, what it means for Ophir, what it means for Freedom Swap, what it means for Unifier. Like, to bring another continent, another country, another coin into our ecosystem. And here's the thing that I think should encourage everyone. Brandon and I were sitting there talking in a room, and Graham comes in from from England, English exit. He was at TEXITCON. And he literally sat down and goes, guys, you completely have earned my trust. He's like, I've had people asking me about crypto stuff and I don't trust anybody. And he said, after hearing what you've done and how you've done it this way, I completely trust you. Let's go. And we did not seek him out. Like, I didn't sell him on this. He's like, this is important to do. And I'm going to be on his show on Monday night. Well, Monday afternoon, Central Time. He does the full English show on Rumble. And he had like 350 concurrent viewers. I mean, he's got a big community. And so really excited about it. That'll be the first time that he talks live about crypto on his channel. So excited about that. I love fish and chips too.
Drix.
Yeah, Drix.
Me too. I love some fish and chips.
Yeah.
Malt vinegar.
Was it your bangers? Is that what it's called?
I don't know, but I'll try it.
Yeah, something like that. I gotta bone up on my my English humor.
Well, Graham, he's a smart dude. I mean, it's talking to him. There was a little bit of an IQ test in the questions, right? And then it was like right out of the bat, he starts talking about the English Constitution, and I'm like, "You mean Magna Carta?"
Oh,
he's like, that is it. That's exactly it. And the excitement and passion, right? He's just, he's something else.
You know what the big thing I took away from all of that, meeting him and everything, and when we first met at the social event, I was sitting at the bar there waiting, and he just struck up a conversation, and he said this every time I saw him throughout the whole thing. He said, what I am so impressed by is that that Texas people are just like the people here in England. And he said, what you care about and what we care about are the same thing. And he actually, Daniel Miller's here. That's the crypto Jesus guy. Daniel Miller, has done something really special. But here's the cool thing. Because of this communication network like this, having a guy like Graham come, you realize we're the same. We are the same. And, there are people all across the world who literally are self-determined. They want to have a choice. And it's like, it's so cool to see those commonalities and the community being built. And it's almost like, we're no different. He sounds very different, but the intent we have is to be free. And how cool is that? That this community can grow, and it doesn't have to be, us against them. It's no, we're in this together because the heavy hand of authoritarianism is worldwide.
Yep.
Boy, if there has ever been a people that should be tired of centralized control, it should be the English.
Yes.
That is true.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for stepping in here tonight.
We got some good people in the chat.
We got some
man.
great
people. Turnout.
Drix, DJ, everyone,
Bobby Hexelrod, man. This is like is this the bull market or something?
No, we have HeartBeat on the stream tonight.
There you go,
dude. When he comes in, that's always a good sign. That's my indicator that we're doing something right when Bobby Hexelrod comes in.
We need to get some Panda up in here. Where's Panda?
Oh man, I'll reach out to him. We'll bring him.
He'll
back.
He'll come around. Get some green candles. Here we go. Yep. Look who's
here.
Lynn.
What's up?
Yay. So excited about her. So excited. Come on.
Yep.
Great woman. Yeah,
thank you
very much. Yeah. So, well, how you guys? We entered some dead air there. How you guys all feeling? I mean, I know we entered about 30, 45 minutes. I know we've done some pretty good things here. if you guys want to send it out, we can send it out. I appreciate everyone being here. Daniel, thanks for stepping in. Black HEXy, thanks for stepping in for the last minute here. Huh?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is good to go. So I mean, we can keep going as long as
Robert's in the house. Thank you.
To say, Robert?
Yeah, Robert.
I always have something to say. I just don't know if I should say it or not.
But, yeah, that's right.
But I think, have we ever done a Texan tailgate on a Saturday night before?
Well, first time for everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it's good to change things up every now and then. Yeah. So Matt, I wanted to ask you a question. Whenever you and Brandon were doing these just educational takes about crypto, DeFi, and Texan token with people who were just not very crypto savvy, newcomers to crypto, what was the general sentiment that you were getting, like the vibe? Do you feel like people were able to like comprehend it easily, like they were getting excited about it? Because I think I heard Brandon say something the other day that people just kept asking lots and lots of questions, and that's how you've got a really engaged audience.
Yeah. I think, and this is just my general sense of new people to crypto. You don't have to. I mean, you can go anywhere pretty much, and people will know about Bitcoin. Right. And they know about, especially older folks. And I consider the TNM crowd kind of skews older. And I mean, that's pretty generous, I think. And, you've got a group of people who everybody's heard about, these nerds who, got some Bitcoin and then, didn't work anymore. Them damn kids. But, when you have something that went up, 69 million% or whatever it is, and they know that something is happening, right? They know that this crypto thing. And I think that there's something inherent, and I've seen this over the years too. Everybody is attracted to, but is kind of, I don't know, hesitant about a silver bullet, right? There's like, I know it happened to some people, but yeah, I've heard people have won the lottery too, right? So they're skeptical, but also I think that the way we've approached it, the way that the TNM has approached it has been, they haven't forced things on people. This hasn't been like, some sort of network marketing super hype machine. It's been genuine. It's been, we've been patient with it. And I think that resonates with regular people. But also, I think we've been able to communicate that, hey, these are cycles and we're going to be coming into the next cycle. Mm-hmm. And we've got two things working together. We've got authoritarianism that continues to rise, to increase. And then we've got the market conditions, and, we're at the bottom. And when you have people like Danny the singer who stands up and, Brandon and I can't talk about price charts. And he got up and he said, guys, you need to understand this. He told his story with Hex. I mean, it's real. And if you think about the money changing, if we think about the 1860s and the crisis era of that time, which led into the Civil War, we're in a crisis era once again. They did not have a wholesale change in the financial system. We have the wholesale change in the financial system, plus we've got this massive crisis era. And so I really think people understood. They're like, hey, this makes sense. But I would also temper it with this. The people that came through Hex at the beginning and saw Richard Hart, they had gone through BitConnect, they had gone through that 1718 run, and they got into that bottom and they heard something that they hadn't heard before. And they were ready to go in. This, I wouldn't expect from the TNM crowd that people are going to back up the truck, sell the farm and put everything into Texan. Because I do believe that when you're new, crypto has to prove itself to you. But I told them, I said, we can't do this for you. We gave you a gift of the Texan token. If you want to take it seriously, take it seriously. What does it take? It takes people taking responsibility for themselves. Why are there 180 streamers in the HEXICON community? Because people took it upon themselves to pump their own bags. Will that happen? I don't know. But, what we're building with this ecosystem is, the intention that would all work together. right? So Ophir and Texan and, you know, this English exit deal plus Freedom Swap plus Unifier. I mean, we're going to be a force we, you know, reckoned with, but also we're going to have tremendous credibility when the next group says, hey, we want to do that, because what do we have to offer them? We've got a DEX, we've got an incentive token, we've got a contract, and we can raise money for them because we're doing it based on donation phase, right? This is giving to nonprofit groups. And that's a really attractive thing. And I think that, you know, it's kind of funny. He was like, how much did you raise for Texan, for TNM? I said 1.5 million. He's like, okay, that'll work. And I'm like, you know, like, what are we doing? We're helping be a catalyst for change. So to answer your question directly in that roundabout way, the questions were good. People are genuinely asking them. I do think that there's some people, it's hard to get into the pulse chain, guys. Let's be completely honest. You know, and now that we've even added another couple clicks with these IPFS stuff, I mean, this is not for, you know, I mean, we're gonna have to hold some hands, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. And, you know, let's see where it goes. But we got two things that are converging that I think are absolutely amazing, that are only going to drive the value here.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I do think as time goes on, we're going to see a lot more roads and a lot more easier ways to get into Pulse Chain. And one of the things that I want to do is sit down and just kind of document all the different resources of like where you can go and post that information. Because I think once we get into a full swing of a bull market and people see the rising gas cost on Ethereum, that is going to make it very expensive to even use a bridge to get from Ethereum over to Pulse Chain. So I really feel like, you know, educating people on the best ways to get directly into Pulse Chain is going to be the best way to go. But right now, because Ethereum's been around so long, it's easier to, you know, move money into that. But I think once people have a good understanding of market cycles and how this long-term game works, because the better off they'll be. Because when I first got into crypto, I was just buying at random. I didn't know what I was buying. And I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I didn't get a whole lot for my money. I bought at the wrong time. But the more you stick with it, the better you get at it. You are able to, you know, DCA better, and you're able to, you know, build a, you know, more solid position. So, but once people see a lot of these things getting built, that's really what gets people excited.
Yeah. Hey, will you put Daniel Miller's comment back up there? So Daniel, I wanted to let you know that Brandon already introduced me to the Brazilian. I got a little bit chafed, but I'm very familiar with the Brazilian now. So you don't have to introduce me to it. But I appreciate that a lot.
Oh,
that was
goodness,
Quinn. That was for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think he's talking about the people of Brazil. But Brandon was very kind because he taught me about two things. He taught me about roses in little glass vials, and he also taught me about the Brazilian.
Roses in glass vials.
Yeah, Daniel Mellon understands. He understands aerodynamics.
All right.
Brandon's a bad influence on you, man.
Yeah. You know who's a bad influence is Daniel Miller. He's the guy, man. He is one of the funniest people, dude. Like I come up to him like I'm thinking we're serious, we're at a conference, and he just like he's got the best one-liner. So.
Awesome.
Dude was having a great time, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's sassy.
Love to have him on here sometime.
Oh, he'd do it too. He would. He would totally do it.
You better be ready. That's all I gotta say, Robert. You better be ready.
Yeah.
I'll go round and round with him. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have him on. Well, and here's the cool thing. Things are heating up, right? Literally, you know, I think it's going to be so exciting. And I'm doing everything I can to just like, you know, I'm so hopeful that the money that was given, like they did a fundraising event at the gala and they raised the capital to with this third party to get these signatures on the ballot. And if they get to, I think it's 100,000 by December 1st, and they're 60% of the way there, maybe more. And this third party has shown that they can just do it. And I mean, it's $2 a signature, to get it done, but they've got it figured out. And it's, this puts it on the Republican Party ballot. And I was talking to the guy that was from Silicon Valley who had come in, who I did not expect to meet at the conference. And he literally was like, what do you think happens when this goes on to this primary ballot? And, I was kind of going, well, I'm just used to the way things have been going, kind of incrementalism. And what he said is, I don't know that you might be surprised how, there are forces against this, right? But what people don't realize, and I think this is very common with the opposition, is they often overplay their hand. It's very common, right? They always overplay their hand. And so, people will make fun in the media and they'll call you crypto Jesus or they'll call you a bunch of kooks. But what they don't realize, it's like when people call people in, the deplorables or the flyover states or God and guns or the whole MAGA thing. They don't understand what's really happening. They don't realize that real people shop at Walmart and they like a NASCAR. They think the elite people think that everyone's like them, and they're just not. And they don't realize it until there's this catalytic event. And I really think that this referendum is going to shake people to their core. And I think we're going to see real opposition. It's been annoying for Daniel Miller for, quite a long time, and he's handled it incredibly well. But I don't know that we've seen the force. But because they overplay their hand, it's only going to be, providing more of a spotlight on this conversation, which is what we've been waiting for. So I think things are going to get really real here, and people are going to be like, what do you mean? Wow. So we've heard that there are these polls of 66% of people would, likely voters would support Texas independence. But then hold on a second. This is like voters, because what Daniel Miller said, I'm stealing his line here. Independence type of referendums bring people out, right? It's not your typical referendum. Hey, should we be a new country? This isn't like, hey, who should be the dog catcher, right? This is serious stuff. And so it brings out all of these people and like, hey, this is important. This is on this ballot. I'm going to go and do this. Well, those people that come out end up voting this next time, right? So this is the primary. So imagine what happens this next time, because Texas is not a primary state, right? We have to have a bill that's introduced in the House that would be basically to have this referendum in 2024. We have to get the right candidates. And there's amazing things that are happening because they tried to get rid of Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, and the Biden administration sent everybody in. And right now there's currently a civil war in kind of the Texas politics in the Republican Party, kind of this old school, Karl Rove Bush group of people. And that whole, Rhino group is getting, I think, has the opportunity to be kicked out. And it's driven not just by the TNM, but also by these issues with essentially the coup that didn't work, right? That they tried to impeach Paxton. And so I'm hoping that what happens is Dave Phelan, the Speaker of the House, boom, out of there. We replace these people with people who sign the Texas Pledge, the Texas deal, and we have ourselves a real opportunity, and it's got kind of a tipping point to it, and that's what Daniel has talked about so much. This may be our finest hour.
It's lining up just perfect, and I can't wait. It is, and what it was going to do to shake up Austin and the party oligarchs. It is setting up just perfect.
Well, and think about this too. I mean, Daniel said it's the same battle that everyone everywhere fights, right? The people versus the political class. And you know what it reminds me of? I always think about the Hunger Games. I mean, that's the extreme of it, right? All the people in the city, decadent, all of their makeup and food and decadent stuff, and all these people that are struggling in the districts. And it's the classic fight. But it's becoming like that, right? And they don't realize. They underestimate us, and they overplay their hand. And so, that's the cool thing. The human heart is meant for freedom. We were designed for it. And so anyone that tries to keep us down, good luck. But it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I'm looking forward to it, because this is really, I think this is why we were put on this planet, is to fix this damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what happens on the tailgate stays on the tailgate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Is that true? I've been being good.
Well,
You have been. We just haven't been.
Yeah.
Look at that smile.
The intermittent fasting games.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's got okay. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. But yeah, I'm really excited, guys. And I'd love to talk a little bit about this English exit thing. Graham Moore, who's the leader of that group, we spent some time with him on Friday, and it's so exciting because Graham Moore, who leads the it's actually a party. It's registered as a party. It's the English Constitution Party, but also the English Constitution Society. That's kind of the nonprofit side of it. And so if we were to do this with them, and I'm really looking forward to this, is, we would help them do a donation phase, right? And this would raise money directly for them, which is huge, right? They need capital. But two, when this happens, it's more than just, hey, there's another token and this is English exit. It's what we saw with the TEXAN token. There's so many people outside of Texas, not just in the United States, but around the world, who believe in this idea of self-determination. And to have a new continent, to have a new country, to have a new coin in the ecosystem, we're bringing value, right? And it only is exponential in its effect, right? It multiplies. And the reason it multiplies is because we've got streamers, pulse chain people, hexicans, pulsicans, Texans in the UK, in Europe. And as we work together, we realize, okay, this is something that, and we know this for a fact, is that the people in crypto, when they see this movement, which is about self-determination, right? Think about what's happening in Philippines, what's happening in Texas, and now what will be happening in England. I mean, there's even talk of other communities, Brazil, talking about the Sikhs in Punjab, right? An independent Punjab, which is, I mean, that's a whole historic thing of a group of people that did not get land because of the colonialism. And these things this is a worldwide movement. This isn't just, hey, it's Texas. And I'm really excited because I think it all works together. And to think that we're going to put together a DEX, we're going to have an incentive token, we're going to have this staking capability, we're going to have the dynamics and tokenomics that drive buying and holding. I mean, I'm really excited about this because I think this is the beginning of something that is going to, potentially enable us to tokenize the world. And that's so exciting. It's so exciting. And that helps everyone, right? Rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are looking for alternatives to freedom, DeFi, self-sovereignty. And I think one of the biggest catalysts that's going to, push people further to that is once we see like the rise of CBDCs and it become more mainstream and more push. That's when people are going to be like, okay, I really think I need to take a look and see what the real free market looks like. And that is DeFi. That is communities of people coming together through volunteerism. Nobody's forcing us to do this.
Yep.
But you're also going to have a group of people that are going to have to experience the negative aspects of a CBDC, which means, well, we're sorry, but you can't purchase this or you can't purchase that. I know a few years ago I had issues with a Bank of America credit card. They did not want to process a payment for a gun I was trying to purchase legally at a gun store. And it was really just a narrative type thing. And it's like, okay, well, who are you to tell me what I can and cannot buy with my money? But at the same time, it is their discretion whether they want to issue credit or not. But that's like a precursor example to basically, no, you can't have this.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to unfortunately experience that before they're like, you know what, I think I want to go check out what these guys over here are doing, because this resonates with me a lot more than, you know, the same old .gov regulation control.
And how forward thinking was Richard when he had to sacrifice for freedom of speech and freedom of movement? How much of a time traveler, you know, in a sense that we're seeing in regards to that, you know, I mean, you're not just talking about freedom of purchasing thing, but you're also talking, Robert, about freedom of movement too. I mean, we see that coming down the pipe too, as far as them just trying to put the kibosh on everyone in that regard. So, yeah.
Hey, Daniel, I sent you a link to this stream. If you're in the studio, would love to have you on, because I'd love to blow the doors off this tailgate. If you're in a position that you can come in. Do you mind? Hey, here's the thing. You guys don't realize this. I know Daniel better than you guys do, and I don't know him that well. But go back to his bigger vision comment there. You know, typically when Daniel's in the chat, he's making fun of me. And when you get him worked up like this is a good thing. So go to that one up at the top. It says the bigger vision here is to become, the next one up. There you go. So the bigger vision is where this becomes the first steps in the underlying financial mechanism for freedom-oriented self-determination movements. You know, when you got Daniel typing stuff like this, you got to realize, folks, this is really serious. And he's the leader of the TNM. He is actually, you know, the Texas nationalist movement, and what Daniel has done is the model. And so Dr. Q, who is the foremost academic on independence movements, uses the TNM as the model, right? And so Daniel knows what he's talking about, but he's also advising other movements. And he's the one that's really been the thinker behind, you know, why did the Scottish referendum not work? And it really is, we're way ahead of many other people in this, you know, in this way. But, you know, the next one, he says, it has the ability to change the entire chessboard. And then where BRICS is the alternative to the global banking order, this could become the alternative to all of it. Guys, okay, I'm just going to, let's talk about, this is a huge comment. And I want people to see this that are in Texan. And I want all of you guys to understand what he's saying here. Daniel Miller didn't come through Richard Heartland. He didn't come through HEXy. He's not a Hexican. He's not, you know, organically in this community. He sees this. He understands what we're doing. He understands this. Folks, Richard Hart, I don't know, you know, John, you're like, hey, when he first came out with the whole freedom of speech thing. Yeah. Folks, you know where I sit spiritually. This stuff is not by accident, folks. No. Like, he's being used in this way, and it's significant. And to see all these things coming together, nobody was talking about freedom of speech stuff. We didn't have the Twitter files. We didn't have all the stuff happening in Canada and the Netherlands. He saw this ahead of time, and now he's fighting this fight as if he had a view into the future. So we got somebody at the top of crypto that is a purist fighting for the very, very, you know, nature of our ability to communicate in this, you know, with our speech and money. We've got Daniel Miller and folks like this that are literally, you know, fighting for independence. And it's unbelievable to me that this is what we wanted to do, guys. This is what we're like, hey, Tuxin token. What does it actually mean? When we can engage a group of people, there's 500,000 people in the Texas nationalist movement, right? There's 32 million people in Texas. Now we're talking about, you know, there's 118 million in the Philippines. How many people in England itself? That's just the beginning. Are there people around? And you said this really well, Robert. You're like, hey, the CBDCs are coming. I remember when the Charlie 19 first started, and everybody was like, okay, yep, we're here. We're going to do this stuff. Yeah, tell us what to do. Yeah, like, what should we do? Should we not go here, not go there? And we were concerned. But then they overplayed their hand, and it became this authoritarian thing, and we started seeing the effects of it. That's how the CBDCs are going to go. Oh, yeah, this is convenient. And, oh, yeah, you're going to have this, and we'll send your money in this government wallet. And the average reasonable people will be like, okay, what do we do? And then they will see the pain that comes from it. And that's where this stuff hits the fan. And we're going to be sitting here. And what's funny is it's like a slog right now. Oh man, convincing people, yeah, this is really important. True DeFi is really important. You watch, people are gonna be like, I don't even want to touch this. I don't want to be a part of this. This is literally, the absolute heavy hand of government. I don't want to be a part of it. And regular people are going to see it because it's gonna be so detrimental. You watch when somebody gets their money shut down, just like you said, hey, they wouldn't do this transaction for this gun. Just wait. Just wait. When this CBDC thing comes and they say, well, if you're over this age and you have this medical condition or you live in this area, you can't buy these things. And then you hear that your cousin got this shut down because he did go to a gun show, or yeah, you traveled too far, or you have the wrong kind of car, or you bought the wrong kind of products. And it's like, it seems like, oh, there's no way that's going to happen. Just wait. And we will be waiting right here for people to have an alternative system. It literally changes everything. But right now, you got to have vision for it. But how amazing that we're in a community with a leader like Richard Hart and Daniel Miller and these people who are so articulate. And it's just like, let's go.
Let's go. And shout out to Daniel too. I mean, think about the ability for all his sacrifice and grind throughout the years for other countries to kind of basically fork the blueprint of what he's done.
Yeah.
Totally. they get a piggyback on his vision and his dream and his, we talk about inspiration being God breathed, inspiration being God breathed to, Daniel to put forth the effort to allow other countries to experience the freedom going forward. So, wow.
Well, and think about what it was like. I like, U.S. history, and I like to think about what was it like when these guys drove horseback from far away to go to the Constitutional Convention, or think about the Federalist Papers when they're written, and think about what the options that they had. And you go, they could have been kings. They literally had control. There wasn't communication at the time, right? It was difficult to get over the mountains, and they said, no, we're going to give this away to the people. The forethought of that is so tremendous, but in a way, this is who we are. We're literally modern day founders. We got the tools, the convenience. We can be online here from different places, but I think we need to start seeing ourselves as more than just patriots. We have to see ourselves as builders of the future and people who are actually fixing these problems by defending the fundamentals. I can't stand it. I see above the speaker in the House chamber, it says, "In God we trust."
Yep.
What a lie. What a lie. There is nothing about that is true in the U.S. government. And it's like, if they could sandblast it off the wall, they would. And it's like, you know what got us here? These are people who literally were like, this is supposed to serve us. And now the state has become sovereign. They're like, oh yeah, we're the ones that are sovereign. You're the subjects. We aren't under a king, folks. We're not the subjects. We're the sovereigns. We're the ones that determine this thing. And so I'm just heating it up for Daniel to get in here because I sent that link to you, Daniel, in Telegram. Oh,
Telegram.
Dude, you had to put pants on for this. That's what's amazing.
Wait a minute.
What are pants?
You don't know that I'm wearing pants.
Okay, fair enough. Welcome to the tailgate.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello. Oh, it's an honor, Mr. Miller. And the coffee. Awesome.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have no quip. I mean, it literally is coffee.
Well, dude, so thank you for coming in and thank you for, sharing this. What are your thoughts on, you said this changes the chessboard. What does that mean?
Yeah. So let me see if I can bullet point it. Okay. So even though this is an advisory referendum, it goes on the ballot. There are a lot of different things in play. Number one, there's been increasing internal pressure over the last several years within the dominant political party to make this an issue. Okay. It was a big campaign issue last cycle. Every one of Greg Abbott's challengers participated in a virtual town hall that we had. They all pledged publicly multiple times they would support it. You had a lot of candidates that were on the ballot, but unfortunately, even though it was a redistricting year, the climate was not right for that sort of thing. But like you said earlier, we're in a situation now where a lot of things have changed politically. There's an internal GOP civil war. I mean, there's growing dissatisfaction with the federal government, particularly over their handling of the border. There's just a lot of things happening. I'm not going to run down the entire laundry list of why things have gone pear-shaped, but they have. Now, one of the efforts that is going pretty strongly for us this cycle is an effort that we really kicked off hardcore last cycle, which was the Take Texas Back, the Texas First Pledge, right? So if you want to go to taketexasback.com, what you'll see challengers to a lot of these guys in the state house where good legislation goes to die that have signed the Texas First Pledge. And a key component of that is that those candidates will respect the rights that we have under Article 1, Section 2, and put this issue up to a vote. Okay, so you have that, and you have a lot of challengers. That in and of itself is no big deal, other than there's political strategy that says the more challengers, the better. You want to challenge every race, every cycle, so that you keep money locked up, because there's not an infinite supply even on their end, even though they have a lot. You know, the incumbents, the political class, there's not an infinite amount. So when you give these guys credible challengers, you keep money locked in their races. Whereas if they don't have challengers, they will go reinforce their colleagues that are under severe threat out of their campaign war chest, knowing that later down the road they might get returned the favor. So you keep it locked up. So we've got this petition campaign going that would put the Texit question on the ballot. One thing that we know is independence referendums, even advisory referendums, have an average voter turnout of 85%. Okay, but even though this is a primary election, and say, okay, look, we don't even shoot for that. Let's just say we double it. Well, that's not normal growth in an election cycle, right? So these high-priced, high-paid political consultants that the establishment use, their data modeling can't handle that. They don't know what to do. They sit there like a clock half struck, or normally, because they're, smug attitudes, they look at it and say the thing that I always love to hear people say, which is, oh, it'll never happen. So you go into March with the Texit issue on the Texit referendum on the ballot. You've got candidates up and down the ballot that have pledged to put this on there, so you have them tied to that issue. And now you've probably, at a minimum, doubled voter primary turnout. And the thing about that is, the people that are going to turn out to vote for this in an advisory referendum are not the opposition, because the opposition are the ones that are in absolute disbelief that this will ever go down, right? They just scoff at it. But you're going to turn out people that have sat on the bench, the disenfranchised, the people that have felt disconnected from the political system. They're going to turn out because they're going to want a chance to vote for something that is this monumental, something they've wanted a chance to vote on for years and years and years. So, you double that voter turnout, and you're going to get a pretty high skew toward those people that are in favor of it. So you got the opportunity not just to send a clear, resounding message through this advisory referendum, essentially establishing a political mandate, right? While this referendum is not legally binding, it is politically binding. And we can break that down at some point if you want. But you also, those people are going to go in and they're going to want candidates that are going to support this legislation in the next session. And so what does that mean? Well, that means you're about to blow a whole bunch of incumbents out of the pipe. And so this one thing has the ability to change the face of Texas politics for the next 100 years. It sets us on a trajectory where we go into the next legislative session, we get the Texas Independence Referendum Act passed, and we have a whole crop of legislators that are ready to execute the will of the people of Texas when the final referendum happens.
Wow. Well, and that's huge. Not everybody that's in the chat or that watches this, understands the soft underbelly of politics. But you've got a real winner here, Daniel, with and I think that, don't you think some of these politicians who they see this as an opportunity, do you think that there are some candidates that are actually looking past Texas independence that might be saying, hey, if we get on board of this and support this, we're going to have the opportunity to speak into the new republic Do you think they're there yet, or are they thinking about that yet?
Well, look, I'll tell you where the heads of some of these guys are. Maybe not publicly, but privately. And you know Nate. For those of you who don't, Nate Smith, our executive director, was at a meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee last quarter and had a conversation with a congressman who is ready to come home and run his campaign for president of an independent Texas.
Sweet.
So, I mean, I think you're beginning to see. You've always had these politicians toe dip, right? You go back to that clip that we have on YouTube that we've got on the website of Ted Cruz filming his podcast down there at College Station, where he basically says, "Look, I'm there in principle, but I'm not there in practice yet. Here are my red lines where I'll be there tomorrow." You know, we see Chip Roy, Congressman Chip Roy, saying, "I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I don't think the time is right yet." You know, you've got Greg Abbott circling that drain where he will use the campaign lines out on the stump about Texas having, it was the 9th largest economy in the world. Now it's the 8th largest economy in the world. You know, you've got these politicians that I think are sort of playing both sides. And I want to caution everyone that that's still dangerous for all of us. If there was any clear lesson that was taught by what happened with Brexit, it's that if you don't have electeds, politicians getting out in front of this thing and leading it, even when it doesn't seem to be very popular, you don't want those people in charge of executing the will of the people of Texas. Period. You can't leave the foxes in charge of the hen house, and even if they're seemingly weak foxes.
Interesting. Do you know? I've watched probably one of the greatest things that Tucker Carlson has done is he spent time with Paxson on his show, which, I think exposed Texas politics to the world.
Yeah.
Where does he stand?
More importantly, it exposed Texas politics to Texans.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, to me, that was kind of this moment for me where I'm like, I wonder where he stands, because I think he's going to be a political force moving forward here in Texas. Do you think that, is he on our side?
It's an interesting question. Paxton, when Paxton challenged Joe Strauss for the speakership when he was in the Texas House, we came out and endorsed him because Strauss, that was right on the heels, I believe it was, when Strauss threatened State Rep Leo Berman. So backstory, because I keep jumping ahead like you guys, like this is all public knowledge. My apologies. But many sessions ago, when Leo Berman was a state rep, he, former Marine, decorated, just a phenomenal guy. His big issue was the border and illegal immigration, which again should tell you how far back this issue stretches. But we had a commit out of Leo Berman to file the bill, and we hadn't even gotten from his office at the Capitol back to New Braunfels before he had already been called to Joe Strauss, who was the former Speaker of the House, been called to his office and threatened, and basically said, "Look, here's what's going to happen. If you file that bill to give Texans this independence vote, all of your other bills are dead. You could just kiss them goodbye." And so Berman made a strategic choice. And at the end of the day, they killed all his immigration and border bills anyway. So it really didn't matter that much. But when Paxton ran, when he challenged Joe Strauss for the speakership, we endorsed him. Paxton has never publicly been in favor of what we do, but I think it is telling that the Attorney General's office did sign an amicus brief in our lawsuit against Meta. They filed one. Didn't help us much, but at the end of the day, I think it was interesting that the AG's office under Paxton was willing to step in on that particular case. Where he stands on the independence issue or letting Texans vote on the issue, that's a question for him.
Yeah. Well, you make a really good point, though, that when the political winds change, they're paying attention and they know it. And this is going to bring out a group of people who have not been politically active in the past because of the nature of the referendum. And how cool that we have the opportunity in Texas to change the very nature of Texas politics. And so, Daniel, thank you so much for you've been doing this for so long, and I'm amazed that you still have the energy to do it. It was so good to see you at the conference, and we just appreciate as a Texan token in this community how much you guys have embraced us, but also, your people were incredible at the conference.
Even though we're laggards.
Yeah, you are. But you know what? What's funny is yesterday's laggards is tomorrow's, cutting edge early adopters, because if you think about it, it's you're not late.
Man, I'm Gen X. I don't believe anybody.
I don't either.
I mean, that's just no. But no. Look, all kidding aside, we really did appreciate it. I may be a little biased, but I would say that I believe something special happened that weekend. Yeah. There was a real interesting energy from the weekend, and people still talk. I had no less than a dozen people come up to me over the course of the weekend, separately, not together, because that would just be weird. Yeah. But with tears in their eyes,
really,
and just couldn't even articulate what they were trying to say. I think everyone walked away from that event with something that they desperately needed, including that knothead from the Dispatch who walked away with his propaganda piece.
That was great.
Yes. Look, I'm just honored to be on here on this live stream talking to the Church of Crypto Jesus guy.
That's right, man. What's funny is I read some of those the comments on that, and what was really interesting to me is, one, who reads that, the Dispatch, but two, I was thinking about this. Somebody took the time to pay the money to come to this event so that they could just have a comedy piece. And I was looking at the comments. This is kind of entertainment for elitist people, right? They like when you make fun of people. And what I think they don't realize is that, we're their fellow citizens in their community, and they get a kick out of being, looking down their noses at people. And what they don't realize is there's way more of us than there are of them.
Sure. Look,
and it's sad.
And look, I when we recorded the podcast this week, I told them, I said, look, here's the deal. When you hit record, don't stop. But it's going to be a while, because I'm going to break this piece down. And there's so much I didn't even cram into it. But you have to understand that this is the media's tack on it. Like I've seen this kind of crap for years. They've called me anything you could imagine. They've called me a right wing nut. I've been, by allegedly conservative media, I've been called a liberal. We've been called supremacists of every type. I've been called a white supremacist, and I tell people, how do you know I'm white? Do not assume my ethnicity, right? So, they call you every name in the book because they want to discourage people from examining what is ultimately the truth. They're afraid of what people will find if they dig a little deeper, that we might be right. And that is ultimately their fear. And they're so smug in their attitudes. It really does, I think, mask a very deep insecurity that they're losing their grip. I mean, they're on the losing side of history. It's got to suck to be them.
Yep.
No, totally. Well, Daniel, I just appreciate it. This is really unique in our space, and I kind of pinch myself at times, is that, we've got a new layer one called the Pulse Chain, and we've got a leader who's, literally, has a case against him from the SEC and is really fighting for freedom of speech and, privacy and all of these things. And it's really amazing what's about to happen. And of course, as the courts are looking at that Citizens United case as it relates to political donations being a form of speech, that there likely is going to be some precedent if this, does actually make it through, where, if you think about literary works, what's really on the table that hasn't been decided yet is the fact that when you go online, people don't realize that your MetaMask wallet does not hold any tokens, and that when you engage with the blockchain, you're actually writing to it, and that you actually, when you push the button and pay the gas fee, you write code and you do math, and you're the one that actually is the author of that, and that this is a collective kind of narrative called the blockchain. Well, there's a number of cases that have said, hey, this type of thing, computer code, the authorship of things, the actions that you take, and the expression of your money as speech, if that actually happens, that's really obviously good for crypto. But that's kind of what's in the balance right now, is to look at, what you do with your money in this, collective communication network is actually your speech. And if that, with the confidence of what's come before it, if that actually becomes decided, is such a significant event for this whole community that is very, it's probably 250,000 people across the Pulse Chain community. And this thing is going to go, rocket ship to the moon, because we win this case. And we establish this precedent, besides the fact that Richard Hart will not let anyone live it down and will rub everybody's nose in it. We then are branded as not only true DeFi, but this is the layer one and the ecosystem of freedom and sovereignty. And here's the crazy thing. We are the first community, Texan is, that really is, we're the first one to tie to any kind of political movement. And so when it comes to the actual manifestation of freedom and sovereignty, it's the Texan token. And it's so cool to think that we're going to continue to add tokens and people who want to be self-determined across the world to this. And I just think it's just a divinely orchestrated, because, we could be on anything, Avalanche, Arbitrum, but no, we're on the Pulse Chain, where everything is aligned with true freedom and sovereignty. And it's just, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm excited.
Well, it is. And, look, what I was saying in chat earlier, and I just want to be really clear, there is a much bigger picture at play here than I think what many people realize. Matt, I've told you about this, so sorry for beating the dead horse, but for everyone else, many years ago, I got connected with a man named Dr. Thomas Naylor. And Dr. Naylor was a professor emeritus of economics at Duke University. He wrote a book that I think sort of set him on a trajectory called Downsizing the USA. And his big issue was politics, the politics of scale, essentially saying that politics in its current state was not suitable for the size of the political entity and the populace. And anyway, it's a fascinating book, very short read, but I would recommend it because I think it's still in print. But he left his post at Duke to found the Second Vermont Republic. And it's hilarious because everyone thought he was Don Quixote tilting at windmills talking about Vermont independence, right? Because that's where he's originally from. And it became essentially, in his philosophy, the test case for this. It became a very extreme example that he could use to say, look, politics of scale, if you think Vermont can't make it, then you haven't looked around the world lately at countries and nation states that are far less rich in resources. It's not about self-sustainability. No country is an island, but it's about viability. And so he and I got to be acquainted early on, and he's very left-leaning guy. He comes from the state that produced Bernie Sanders as a senator. So, but in the Doc's defense, he despised Bernie Sanders with a purple passion. So, kudos to the Doc. But we realized early on that what we had in common was this respect for one another and the right of self-determination. Let Vermont govern Vermont, let Texas govern Texas. And on policy issues, we probably would not agree on 90% of the things. But at that core of self-government, we were 100% in alignment. And of course, that opened our eyes. There was a 2-year study before we founded the TNM about independence movements around the world. But that work with Dr. Naylor led to more active engagement and outreach with independence movements around the world. And it's amazing what you find, that so many of them are going through some of the same struggles that we're going through, going up against an entrenched political class, a mainstream media that despise it. I mean, you just take it all and you wind up with the same things. And, when the Texan token came to the table, it became a piece of a missing piece of the puzzle for us. And honestly, we can't ever thank you guys enough for doing what you did. But it also scratched an itch that had been with me since Dr. Naylor passed several years ago. And it had been a project that we'd been working on that went on the back burner to really begin to establish a criteria for these independence movements to determine whether they were viable independence movements or not. Because let's be honest, we live in an age where anyone can gather together a couple of their friends, start a Facebook group, and claim that they're a movement, right? That they're a political movement. And I point to a conference that an academic held in the United States several years ago, many years ago, called the North American Secession Conference. He did not invite us because he didn't know about us, because he didn't do his research. Instead, we were represented by some random guy off the street whose claim to fame was that he believed that transgender people, cross-dressers, drag queens should be stoned in a public square, and a guy who insisted on being referred to as Ned the Gnome because that was the name of his Dungeons and Dragons character. I'm not making it up, right? But that's what this conference looked like. So there had to be some legitimate criteria, but beyond that, this discussion was also about what we could do collectively as self-determination movements to build on the relationship that Naylor and I had, which was this mutual respect for the right of self-determination for independence movements that were freedom-oriented. So that led us into conversations with other movements here in the States, the Calexit guys, the New Hampshire guys, the Albertans in Canada, the Sao Paulistas in Brazil. Obviously, that took us into all the Eurosceptic movements, and now with Graham Moore, but movements all over the world. And as this, Matt, you and I had this conversation about TEXAN Token, and now you're talking to Graham about this. There is a recognition that a key component of success that is missing for most self-determination and independence movements is that financing mechanism that could at some point in the future morph into an alternative as these countries begin to gain their independence. So there is a much bigger global picture in play here in relation to the issue of self-determination.
Wow. And for those that are paying attention to what Daniel just said, I mean, just imagine this from a crypto perspective, and we think about everybody likes the number goes up, pump my bags, all that stuff. Everybody loves green candles. What you just said, and this is big because, I don't consider Daniel to be a crypto expert.
Hey,
but
I can hear you, right?
I can. I know you can.
Okay.
What's incredible though about it is your support and endorsement and introduction. Imagine this, folks, in this community. Imagine that as we continue to move forward, let's say it is the English exit, and let's say we have a very similar scenario where, let's say, $1.5 million is raised for them, and we bring all of these people in this ecosystem in to support them, and then Alberta, and then Brazil, and then you just start adding to this list. What's interesting is the people that have been at the core. I've often said, a mentor of mine said years ago, and it stuck with me all this time, is people support what they help to create. And when you have something like crypto, which requires that you get out there and shill it, right? You have to, if you're not going to tell people about it, it's not going to benefit you. And what I love about this is we don't have a product. We're not selling soap to somebody. But what's happening is when you see yourself in this and your fingerprints are on it, that the very nature of launching a token like this that is global in scale, that has people coming in, that Texans will support the English and Texans will support the Brazilians and Texans will support. Why? Because we have this commonality of self-determination. That that fabric, right, that gets woven between all of these different groups of people is really potentially something that can morph. And when you think about how swapping works in DeFi, and you think about Freedom Swap and Unifier Token and all that, we realize there's not one ring to rule them all. The goal of this is not to have some sort of centralized new global reserve currency. It's actually about how we interface together. And that system of DeFi exists today, is supported on the Pulse chain, is led by someone like Richard Hart. And what's amazing is this literally could be a whole new economic order where people like we're not at the behest of centralized bankers. Like, this is truly a freedom movement financially too. And to think that there's a political and a financial one happening at the same time, Daniel, I mean, I think we use the term catalyst. It's a catalyst for literally a wholesale change in the way, people interact with, the governments. And I mean, what a amazing thing, I think, for my kids and my grandkids, that there would be, we would potentially fix something that could bring in another renaissance. That's how I see it.
Look, man, I will tell you, I mean, you know me long enough. I'm an old fighter. I've been at this for a long time. So I look at things from the lens. If I wanted to make money, I'd have just stayed in the tech sector, kept my head down, and not thought about Texas independence twice.
Yeah.
It costs me to do what I do, and I would gladly pay it because it's something that this side of shedding blood, right? I mean, if the defenders of the Alamo could shed their blood for our independence, who am I to say, look, $100 in gas here, a hotel room, all the stuff that has to be done. I mean, that's a small price to pay compared to what they paid the first time. But I look at this as an opportunity to really to change the world. I mean, look, when you create, and I'm not just talking about the token here, right? I mean, I'm taking this sort of beyond. When you establish a framework that serves to empower people to reclaim their right of self-government, that is something that changes history books. I mean, this is writing the history of the world for the future. We talk all the time. The first words of Article 1, Section 2 say that all political power is inherent in the people. And for too long, we have suffered under the yoke of systems and regimes that deny that right to us, that have denied us that political power. And so if we can empower the people to reclaim their political destiny, then, it doesn't matter. I just look at this as, fine, this is war bonds for peaceful legislative independence movements.
Amen. That's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bobby Axelrod, you're absolutely right.
Hey, wait a minute, Matt. How in the world did this turn into me being on your show and interviewing me like we do before?
This is what happens. This was supposed to end 23 minutes ago. We completely hijacked it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because
it's not even Matt's show.
oh my gosh, your audio's on. Okay, because it was like me, and it was Matt and three mimes and an icon
and some laggards.
Worst intro to the Brady Bunch ever.
Daniel, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. I really do.
Coffee.
No, but in all regards, what we see happening, I remember seeing an interview with you and you talking with Matt and talking about you taking a break when all this is said and done. And the truth be known is, we're praying for God to give you strength and endurance, because I think the fight is just going to continue from here. I know you've been fighting and you've been grinding for a long time, but like you said, the blueprint is being printed, and we're going to fork what you've been doing for other people to, fight the fight.
I like that. You use the terminology. We're going to fork it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm down for dev lingo, man. Let's roll.
Yes.
But no, look, I appreciate it, man. My life's journey, I envision a lot different when I was a teenager, right? But even with all the hardship and hell and everything else, I wouldn't trade it for all the relationships and the people that I have met and the experiences that I've had, and just getting to know folks like y'all, or that experience that we had at TEXITCON. Those, I got up there at the tail end and I talked about how people that were there gain new family. I mean, when you go through things like this, you understand that you come out on the other side with a whole lot of ride or die folks. I saw it happen with Brexit. I mean, those people, the kind of crap the media said about them, the wars they had to fight. A lot of those people did not know each other when they stepped into that ring to fight, but they came out of that victory with bonds that couldn't be broken by anything. So I will just say that I appreciate everyone out there who is doing what they can to help move this ball down the field. And, I'm just going to say, when it comes to this idea of me getting a vacation when this is over with, look, there's been rumors of an Oasis reunion in 2025. If you guys will give me a couple of days off, maybe that'll refresh me. I don't know. Nebworth, maybe. Just saying.
Oh my gosh. What a great obscure reference. Oh my gosh.
Obscure. Awesome. What are you talking about?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I mean, they were only the seminal British rock and roll band from the 1990s, Matt.
Dude, hey, Oasis is like, now you're whistling my tune, man. and here's the thing, I don't want to out, Quinn there, but she knows what's up.
I'm
what's
not
up.
that old.
No, I didn't say you're old.
What's up.
You do know who Oasis is, though. I know that's for sure.
I do.
I don't know. I just want to know when the ageism became so casual on this conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 2025 is going to be fire. There is no question about it. We got, and you probably know this, Daniel, but the Happening's coming up here probably in April. The new year, everything is, teeing up. We've got, all the ETFs coming out. There's so much money. I watch the capital flows into crypto, and this is the first time in 17 months that it has actually gone, positive. So it's pouring in, and of course, CBDCs are going to be launched, and this is going to get really interesting. And I'm really excited about where this politics and money come together here. And if we can add, let's add Brazil, let's add England, let's do all this, because we're going to end up having, the voice is going to be multiplied in this community. So yeah. I think it's going to really help. I think it's going to help everyone. I really do.
Look, we're beyond a shadow of a doubt, and then I'll jump off here because I know I ran y'all over time. But look, you invited me; it's your fault. But look, we're on the cusp of something. I mean, you can feel it, and like so many times before, where you could only feel it. Here, you can not only feel it, you can actually track it in what's happening every day. It is clear that we're headed for something. I believe that something is probably the final showdown between the two competing political philosophies of our day, globalism versus nationalism. But in every form that takes, but something is happening. And I would just admonish everyone just to remember that we either create our own future, or there will be people out there willing to create it for us.
Great last words.
Well, I'm not going to die, Matt. I'm just going to hit stop.
You're just going to get off the screen.
Yeah, I'm going to go in there. I'll be okay.
Your final words.
Your final words. Well, on that note, I would say, Daniel, you staying back and kick it in the green room with us. We're going to kick everyone off on the TEXAN Tailgate. We've been going for a good amount of time, and we have a good amount going on here. So I appreciate everyone in the chat for stepping in. I appreciate everyone in the conversation here. It's been awesome. We're all about freedom here. So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and kick everyone off. You guys take care.